The CEO's careless, "Marry me," joke, until the single dad's answer stopped the entire room cold. The joke was supposed to land lightly. Everyone in the executive conference room knew that. The glass walls, the city skyline behind them, the catered lunch growing cold on the side table, it was one of those meetings designed to feel relaxed while decisions worth millions hovered invisibly in the air. Richard Halden, CEO of Halden Tech, stood at the head of the table with the confidence of a man who had never doubted his own voice. He was tall, silver-haired, charming in a way that magazines loved to call visionary leadership. When he spoke, people leaned forward. "So," he said with a grin, tapping his tablet, "if anyone has a problem with these numbers, now's the time to say it. Otherwise, I'll assume you all agree and someone here is going to have to marry me for making this quarter look so good." Laughter rippled around the table, polite, automatic, rehearsed. A few executives chuckled louder than necessary. Someone clapped once. It was harmless. Just a joke. The kind Richard had made 100 times before. Except this time, someone didn't laugh. At the far end of the table sat Daniel Mercer, head of systems architecture. He hadn't been with the company as long as the others. He wasn't loud. He didn't interrupt. He listened, took notes, delivered results, and went home on time, something that had quietly earned him a reputation for being not fully committed. Daniel raised his eyes from his notebook. "I wouldn't recommend marriage as a reward system," he said calmly. The laughter thinned, then faded. Richard blinked, still smiling. "Oh, tough crowd today." Daniel didn't smile back. "My wife used to laugh at jokes like that," he continued, voice steady. "Right up until the day she couldn't anymore." The room stilled. Someone cleared their throat. A chair shifted. The skyline outside looked impossibly far away. Richard's grin faltered. Well, I didn't mean. She died," Daniel said, not unkindly, not dramatically. Just factually. 3 years ago. Cancer. Left me with a 6-year-old who still asks why mommy didn't come home from the hospital. The air felt heavier, like the oxygen had been turned down. Daniel closed his notebook and finally looked directly at Richard. "So when I hear powerful men joke about marriage like it's a punchline," he said, "I don't laugh. I remember hospital chairs that don't recline, and promises I couldn't keep." Silence wrapped the room. No one checked their phone. No one whispered. The catered lunch might as well not have existed. Richard's face flushed, then paled. For the first time in years, he looked unsure of what to say. I'm sorry," he managed. "That was careless of me." Daniel nodded once. "I know. Most people don't think twice about it." He stood, gathering his papers. "But words travel farther than we expect. Especially from the head of the table." The meeting ended early. No one said it outright, but everyone felt it. Something had shifted. Over the next few weeks, people noticed changes. Richard stopped making offhand jokes. Not just about marriage, about anything that used someone else's life as a metaphor. Meetings became shorter, more focused. He started asking questions instead of filling the silence. He listened. One afternoon, he asked Daniel to stay behind. "I owe you more than an apology," Richard said, standing by the window. "You didn't embarrass me. You taught me something." Daniel shrugged lightly. "Wasn't my intention. I just answered honestly." Richard turned. "How do you do it?" "Balance everything." Daniel hesitated. "Some days, I don't. Some days my daughter eats cereal for dinner and I fall asleep answering emails. But I show up. For her. That's non-negotiable." Richard nodded slowly. "My kids are grown. I missed a lot of dinners thinking I was doing it for them." Daniel didn't respond. He didn't need to. A month later, company-wide changes were announced. Expanded parental leave, flexible hours without penalty, mental health support that wasn't buried in fine print. People were shocked. Some were suspicious. But when Richard addressed the company, his voice carried none of its former swagger. "Leadership isn't about clever lines," he said. "It's about understanding the weight of what we say, and who's carrying it." Daniel watched from the back of the room, arms crossed, expression unreadable. After the applause faded, Richard caught his eye and nodded once. No words, just acknowledgement. Years later, new hires would hear the story, not as gossip, but as legend. About the day a joke died in midair. About the single dad who answered honestly. About the room that went cold, and the company that finally learned to listen.